What's up, everybody? It's Jake back in the BarBend garage gym, and today we're going to be talking about the best electrolyte supplements on the market in 2024. Now, instead of me just being a talking head up here, I have a very special guest with me today, Chelsea Bourgeois, who is in fact an RDN. Really excited to collaborate with her today. Chelsea, how we feeling?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Heck yeah, we got a lot to cover today. So first thing I want to talk about, Chelsea, is just the main benefits of electrolytes. You know, there's a lot of talk around how much water you need to drink, but does water alone suffice? Does it matter if you're an extreme athlete? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So electrolytes play a pretty major role in many of our body systems. They're, essential for muscle contraction, nerve function, blood pressure, hydration. They play a role in repairing muscle tissue. So, you name it, they've got their hands involved in some way. And it's normal for our electrolyte levels to fluctuate a little bit, but I think it's important to be mindful of it, especially if we are, training heavily, competitive athletes, things of that nature. So yeah, it plays a role in overall health, but definitely, especially if we're, losing electrolytes through training.
So for those who don't know, is there a specific ingredient in an electrolyte supplement that you need more than others, like sodium or potassium, for example, or does it really matter?
All the electrolytes play a role in our overall health, and they each kind of have their own special, special role. So I think getting a good balance of electrolytes is important, and it just may vary depending on who you're asking, what person is losing, electrolytes basically. And so there's a lot of common ways to lose electrolytes. I think sweat is obviously one of the major factors, and kind of while we're here talking about them, and symptoms of low electrolytes can really affect your workouts and kind of prevent you from maximizing your training. So running low on electrolytes, you might experience fatigue, dizziness, nausea, cramps, and even some more intense ones like irregular heartbeats, where it would be more of a medical concern at that point. And so that's where we start looking at just different supplements to kind of help offset those gaps.
Okay, yeah, well, we got a decently long video here today, and I know everybody's here. You know why everybody's here. Y'all know why you're here. It's to find out the #1 overall electrolyte supplement on the market, and for us, it's BUBS Naturals Hydrate or Die. Now, that's a pretty intense name, but these do cover all the bases, everything that you need. They are free of artificial ingredients, should I say, and they come in these really convenient packets so you can take them on the go. Now, we're gonna expand on why we ranked this as the #1 electrolyte supplement. But before we do that, just wanna make sure you guys know that we do in fact have a detailed article that pairs with this video. I definitely recommend you go and check it out because there's a lot of research in there that you probably wanna read for yourself. To pull it up, all you gotta do is search BarBend, best electrolyte supplements. That's it, it's gonna be right there for you. Now let's get to the bulk of this video. Okay, so Chelsea, from a broad overview, BUBS Hydrate or Die really does seem to check off all the boxes. Each packet's only 40 calories per packet. It's about $1.88 per packet, and there's 3 different flavors to choose from, so there's a really good chance you're gonna find a flavor that meets your taste bud requirements, because at the end of the day, that's a pretty big deal. But looking at the formulation specifically, in your eyes, what does BUBS really do well to be worthy of that #1 spot?
Yeah, so I think BUBS Naturals, they really hit the nail on the head with these electrolyte packets. I mean, you get 2,000 milligrams of electrolytes per packet, so you're really getting some bang for your buck there. I do think that they're one of the more cost-effective options, basically because you're paying for electrolytes and that's what you're getting. You're not getting a whole lot of fluff, or unnecessary fluff, I should say. I do think, I like the formulation. I do think it serves a purpose. It's not really, in my opinion, it's not something you're drinking on your leisure days, because it does contain about 1/3 of your recommended sodium for the day.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
I would just say, use it mindfully, and, on those days where you're really, hitting it hard in the gym or losing a lot of sweat, to where you might need to close some gaps on those, electrolytes.
Yeah, how do you feel about the potassium? There's only 6%. Is that, only 6%, is that a bad thing, or does that, correlate well with people who train and things of that nature?
Yeah, so some supplements may have more potassium in it. I do feel like the 240, 250 milligrams is a pretty fair amount as far as it goes for an electrolyte supplement. And it gives you some room to kind of fine tune your supplement, along with your diet too.
Yeah, so there's 0%, daily value of sugar in here. Is that a good thing when it comes to electrolyte supplements, or does it really just kind of depend on people's personal preferences?
Yeah, I think, I think what's really cool about dietary supplements is it really does depend on your personal preferences. So, the no added sugar thing, that's not always the case with these electrolyte solutions. So I like that it gives you the option to, to rehydrate basically without all the added sugar. So in my opinion, for this formula, I'm okay with it. I like it.
Okay, awesome. That's something that I definitely wanted to ask you. Well, there it is, y'all. The #1 electrolyte supplement on the market in 2024, BUBS Naturals Hydrate or Die. Okay, so as I was just talking about, taste is a very important factor with everything in life. We all want things to taste well. I think you guys know where I'm going with this. Our best tasting, favorite tasting, whatever you want to call it, our favorite one goes to Kaged with HydraCharge. Now, this is personal preference of mine. I love the way it tastes. I really love the fruit punch one. There's only a gram of sugar here. There's only 5 calories per serving, and it's going to cost you only $30 for 60 servings. Now, Chelsea, there are a few things I want to ask you about here. First one being, overall, looking at the formulation, how do you feel about it? Is there any room for improvement? And what I mean by that is the smaller percent daily value of the electrolytes that are within it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I think, as a dietitian, I always like to promote whole foods first. They're, in my opinion, they're more accessible and they're, more easily absorbed through our bodies. But I'm also a realistic dietitian, and I know that sometimes that just can't happen, especially when we've got these increased demands from working out, and we need to kind of close some gaps or bridge the gap. I am a person, I like the smaller percentages that you can find in this formula. To me, it gives you the opportunity to prioritize your diet first and then supplement as needed. It gives you the chance to really fine tune your supplement stack.
And I guess you can always add more if you want to. You can do 2 scoops, I guess, right?
The chance to kind of make it your own. And I'm a fan of being able to personalize your routine.
Yeah, so there is an ORAC blend, which for those who don't know, so there's basically what I'm saying is there's a trace amount of caffeine in here. Do you think that really is going to play a factor, or does it not really matter here?
So I'm not super worried about the trace amounts of caffeine. The caffeine sources are part of that proprietary blend. And I'm not usually a huge fan of, claims that kind of get buried in a proprietary blend. But I will say this Spectra ORAC blend has been pretty extensively studied over the last 10 years. So the science is there. And there's 100 milligrams of it in each serving of HydraCharge. So it can't be, the caffeine content can't be more than your average cup of coffee anyway. So in my opinion, it's not something that's super concerning as far as, your caffeine intake.
Well, that's good to know, especially for anybody who, can be sensitive to caffeine. That's definitely something you want to be aware of. Well, there it is, y'all. Our favorite tasting option, Kaged HydraCharge, comes in 8 different flavors. So I'm pretty confident you're going to find one that suits your taste buds the best. Now, when it comes to traveling, our favorite option on the market, it's a pretty popular one too, with Liquid IV. Now, as I mentioned, Chelsea, this is a very popular electrolyte supplement, but there's a couple things I want to call out here. First of all, I would love to know your thoughts about the CTT technology, but then also, there is a hefty amount of sugar and sodium in here. Basically, I guess what I want to ask you is that too much, the percent daily value in here? And just for real quick for everybody to get a sense of what I'm talking about. Sodium, there's 22%. And then with the sugar, there's also 22% of your daily value. So is there a niche group that would benefit with this the best, I guess? Or, is that something that you really want to be careful with in general?
Yeah. So I think that CTT, that cellular transport technology, and then the sodium and sugar content, they all kind of blend and go hand in hand. I think the idea behind the CTT is that there's this optimal ratio of sodium, potassium, and glucose that creates this osmotic force that helps your, digestive tract absorb water earlier. So with that, I think, there's definitely a purpose behind that, and it can serve a special population. With 500 milligrams of sodium and I think it's like 11 grams of added sugar. It's not just for your leisure day, sipping on a Tuesday morning. It definitely has a purpose. So I would just keep that in mind, as you're, if it's something that you choose to go with, just keep it in mind.
So, let's say somebody went out on the town the night before and they kind of had a pounding headache. I think we all know what I'm talking about here. Would something like this with that much added sugar, would that be a bad thing?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm sure it's a question that many people have wondered. That added sugar might really just kind of give you that sugar spike and drop. But at the same time, it could help with the hydration factor too. I definitely think it's on an individualized basis. I will say I've used some of these similar electrolyte packets for days on the beach where it's just this dry heat. And, it's good to kind of keep your, hydration a priority in that type of situation, I would say.
Well, there it is, y'all. Best for travel, liquid IV. It comes in these really handy dandy packets right here. It's super easy for you to mix. Just toss it in your water bottle, whatever, shake it up and you're good to go. There's so many flavors that they have that it kind of gets to be a little bit overwhelming. I can't remember them, physically can't remember all of them. And another good thing that Liquid IV has going is, you can buy them on Amazon, you can buy it on their actual website, and plus you can go down to your local grocery store. It's gonna be right there waiting on you. So there it is, y'all, best for travel. All right, so up next, we're gonna take a second and talk about the best option for runners. And for this award, we're going with XWerks Motion. This big hefty bag right here is gonna cost you 60 bucks, 30 servings per bag, so about $1.96 or so per individual serving. Now, Chelsea, I really wanna talk about a couple things here. First of all is the carbs. So there's 28 grams of carbs in here. Is that the main reason you think this is great for runners? And also there's 3 grams of BCAAs in here in a 2:1:1 ratio. So does that make a factor in this as well, or is it just kind of an afterthought? What do you think?
Yeah, so I think just the product as a whole, it's got a really good balance of nutrients. I think it's kind of killing, 2 birds with 1 stone here. You're addressing the fuel aspect, fueling an endurance run with those carbohydrates, and then, hydration through those electrolytes. It is a smaller doses of those electrolytes, so it's not overwhelming to the system. And it just kind of helps make the most of your endurance run, I think.
So I noticed there's 0 potassium in here. A lot of people talk about the benefits of potassium. A lot of people suggest eating a banana every day, things like that. Do you think that lack of potassium here has, negative? Is that a con here, or do you think the other things kind of outweigh that?
Yeah. So I think, the other factors, the other ingredients here outweigh the lack of potassium. If potassium is a concern for you, I definitely say, try and get it through, through your diet if possible. But I do like what you get for the money. I think, what it boils down to is you want your investment to serve you well. And I do think that the balance of carbs, the BCAA ratio, I think all of that serves endurance runners very well. And it's worth maybe eating a banana, like you said, eating a banana earlier in the day or something like that.
Okay, cool. Well, there it is, y'all. If you're an avid runner looking for a way to fuel, stay hydrated at the same time, XWerks with their raspberry lemonade. It's the only flavor, by the way, just something you should be prepared if you don't like that, and this probably isn't for you. But regardless, if you're a runner, this is the best option right here. All right, well, that's a wrap on today's video over the best electrolyte supplements on the market in 2024. Chelsea, it was awesome having you. You were an amazing amount of help today.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, and she'll definitely be back. We got a whole lot of other supplements we're going to be talking about. As always, stay posted for my next video, but for now, head over to BarBend.com because, as I mentioned earlier, we do in fact have a detailed article that pairs with this video. All you got to do is search BarBend Best Electrolyte Supplements, and it's going to pull right up for you. We'll catch y'all next time.